to talk about an idea he had about honoring literature in the sport because nobody's doing it at the time. And so he said, I was editor of Thoroughbred Times at the time, so we co-sponsored an award, and here we are, 19 years later, still in operation, and it's been it's a great ride, and we've honored some great books. And this year we've got 3 good finalists as well. So first I want to tell you that Shane Ryan couldn't make it. He sends his regrets. He's sorry he couldn't make it, but thanks all of you who came out here tonight. I guess it's a personal thing if I can do that. Two of the finalists I've known for forever. Josh Pons, over there. Josh Pons. I was on the staff of the Thoroughbred Record, and Josh was on the staff writer for the Blood Horse. We've known that's decades and decades and decades ago. And so Josh was always very talented. Won an Eclipse Award for a book, I think in the 1980s. Always a great writer. So it's no surprise to me that here we are 40 years later, whatever, 50 years later, he has a finalist for the Dr. Turnaround Book Award. He's been great in this business. He's multifaceted owner and breeder and farm owner. It's remarkable. Arthur. I'm sorry Arthur couldn't make it tonight. I understand, but Arthur is one of those unique individuals that I've known him for like 4 decades longer as well. Interesting guy, outspoken, as you all know, and everybody kind of calls him a maverick, but when we talk about from the heart about the things he wants to address and the issues he's talking about, like medication, which he got a lot of flack about, it comes from his heart, and it's true. People that want to talk about medication go, it's just sweep it under the rug, whatever, but that's not the way you handle problems. And Arthur was always at the forefront of those things. He's been great for the sport. I'm really happy for him to be a finalist for this Dr. Turnaround Book Award. We had, as I said, we've been doing this for 19 years. My wife, Mary, has also been involved for all these years as well. And so I had to come up with a list of, well, what are the credentials and the awards some of the other writers have won. So she came up with a list for me, which is good. So because we want to honor obviously good writing, so the question is good writing, yes it is. So in the past, all the finals, top 3 over the years, we've had a Pulitzer Prize winner, who was Geraldine Brooks, and she won for Mart, and she won the Dr. Turnaround Book Award for Horse. 2 additional Pulitzer Prize nominees, a National Book Award winner, which was Jamie Gordon for her book that won the Dr. Turnaround Book Award, which was Lord of Misrule. 4 New York Times best-selling authors, 8 Eclipse Award winners, 5 Racing Hall of Fame members, and other awards such as the Flannery O'Connor Award, the Library of Congress Prize for American Fiction, and the Peabody Award, among others. So it's an impressive group, and so we are delighted that we're able to honor literature, and Dr. Ryan, who died after only 2 years of this, of the awards. He'd be tremendously proud of the things which we started. So as usual, the winner of the Dr. Turnaround Book Award gets $10,000 and a Tipperary crystal trophy, I guess one over there. Each of the runners-up get $1,000 each and a trophy. Pat Hayes, since Shane couldn't be here, Pat Hayes, the general manager, will come up here and announce the winner at the end of the ceremonies. And before we get around to the award ceremony, I want to thank the staff of Castleton Lyons and for everything they do during the course of the year to get this thing organized and put on, and especially Carrie Cahill. Carrie. A lot of work, and it's year-round, so thank you, Carrie. I'd also like to thank the 3 judges. That's not an easy job. You got to read this year. There's 16 books. They read 16 books each, and the remuneration is not all that much, to be honest with you. So the 3 judges are Kate Coit, Caden Bradar, and last year's Dr. Turnaround Book Award winner, Kim Wickens. So to get this thing started, I want Kay Coy. Kay has been the head judge of the book award for 14 years or something like that. So let's get her up here and get the ceremony started. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's been very interesting to be a judge all these years, and it was a lot of fun when Caton joined us about midway through the program. But it's an interesting process. Our deadline for nomination is December 31st, so if you have a book in 2025, and we have at least 1 year, Jamie, who's entered his book for next year, once we get those books, we can start reading, and we have actually quite a few of us get a little bit of a head start reading because we're always on the lookout for good thoroughbred racing literature. And I want to give a shout out to others such as Keeneland Library that does a wonderful author series and brings in authors to talk about their books. So often we grab books at those events and we start reading early. And also bookstores, independent bookstores like Joseph Beth that do author talks, and Carmichael's in Louisville, and the National Museum of Racing in Saratoga. So we're always on the lookout for the best books about thoroughbred racing. And we go seek them. I mean, if there's I will peruse a list of Amazon horse racing books, and if I see an author that maybe doesn't have ties to Kentucky or is a press that might not know about this book award, I'll contact the publisher and just let them know that this award does exist. But it's a tricky thing. We're reading all kinds of books. There's children's books, there's illustrated books, there's beautiful coffee table books, there's mystery, nonfiction, memoir, autobiography. It's an apples and oranges, and it's very subjective. It's like any judging competition is. It's the three judges we talk about. We narrow the list down to semifinalists, and we talk about that group, and then we narrow that list down again to finalists, and we debate, and it's very. We have some great kind of like mini book clubs just talking about our award. And the way the program will go here, Kate and Briar will come up and introduce each of the authors and maybe read a passage of each of the books. Mark, do we have we could just go in what order? We don't have it. I think we're going to start today with John Perrotta because he couldn't be here, but what he did is he wrote a lovely letter, and Caton will, after introducing the book, she will read the letter that he wrote for us. I think it's kind of neat. He'll mention in the letter he's actually met Dr. Ryan, so that was kind of a interesting fact about John and his entry here. Caton, come on up.
As we get into the books, I always think the one thing that people should be reminded is that it's kind of like asking what's your favorite restaurant, right? What's your favorite book? Just to be here among the finalists and for the semifinalists as well is quite an accomplishment, much more than anything I've been able to undertake as far as actually writing a book, much less having it recognized in this manner. So it is a night to celebrate everyone who is a part of this contest and who also keeps the spirit of racing alive in literature, which is so important and is not easy to come by really these days in any subject, I would say, but particularly for horse racing. I like to read a little bit of the books and just give you a little touch or flavor, hopefully to entice you, if you haven't already, to come over to the table. And even if you've already read the book, buy some more and help those authors. We also are really lucky because not only are the books that are the finalists here, but other works by those authors are also available. So maybe if you've read the book already that's being recognized, you might pick up the other one. We'll start with John Perrotta's A Beggar's Ride. And I'm fortunate to have known John for many, many years, back to the old Gulfstream Park days at kind of a different time and place. And he was definitely in a different occupation. At that time, he was working for Robert Brennan and Due Process Stables, but he has worn many hats. He has been on the racetrack virtually his entire life. Bills himself as a horseman as well as an entrepreneur in racing, now living in Ireland with a tolerant wife and 2 annoying but well-loved small dogs. He's worked as a jockey agent, a radio executive. If you listen to Steve Bick today on the radio, he was kind of the person that started that show in its earliest days. Radio executive, racing manager, horse breeder, and was at one time the vice president and GM of Santa Anita Park, as well as a screenwriter for HBO's horse racing series, Luck. I'll read a little of his book and then I'll read his letter. Now the book, A Beggar's Ride, is basically a sequel to a previous book that he authored where he introduced us to a racetracker, but who encountered a lot of trouble wherever he went, which could be expected. And in A Beggar's Ride, he ultimately, the same character, ends up in Ireland in equally similar circumstances, dire circumstances along the way, but introduces the reader to not only a lifetime on the racetrack, but also a lot about travel of racehorses between countries, which I found fascinating and learned quite a bit. And one of the beauties of John's books overall is that while most recent works may be fiction, they are very factually accurate in the details as to life on the racetrack. So at any race course, the track kitchen is in the heart of the barn area, beating steadily no matter if the races are running or not. And when the winter meet at Santa Anita is running, the big meet has the strongest beat of them all. There was a grand old sepia photo of the track on the wall, at least a 4 by 8 foot aerial shot that was likely taken back in the 40s, back when the parking lot was filled and huge crowds jammed the racetracks, even on weekdays. Folks coming out to see horses like Seabiscuit or Citation or Silky Sullivan, ones they could tell their grandkids about. A few more photos of movie stars were scattered on other walls. Several coats of green paint peeling off the frames. Lucille Ball and Ava Gardner, Bing Crosby, Pat O'Brien, Cary Grant and Clark Gable, all the men wearing hats, some sporting bow ties and the women in fancy dresses like they might go out dancing afterward. He wondered what had become of those other people, the ones who weren't movie stars, those who had driven there in their black sedans more than 50 years ago, and what kind of lives they had lived, if they knew how lucky they were to see the game at its peak, when the name of the Derby winner was on everyone's lips, and most folks loved nothing better than a tip on a horse. He wondered how many had thought they were putting the grocery money on a sure thing and lost their home and their family, how many took their kids to the races, and their kids became part of the crowd that was here today. He figured not a lot of them were still alive. Ham looked over where the Mexicans had been, and they were gone. Instead, there was a small guy in jeans and a green plaid shirt, a flak vest, and riding boots with a green shamrock on his white helmet cover, an exercise rider or a jockey. He was picking up some cash off the floor like he just found it, a couple of bills, when a pager on his belt chirped, distracting him. The way he glanced around to see if anyone was looking, you could tell the money probably wasn't his, maybe dropped by the Mexicans. He stuffed it in his vest pocket and headed for the door. Ham realized the cashier was still standing there, watching him daydream. That's A Beggar's Ride. I mentioned John is unable to be with us. He is in Ireland and has had some health struggles, but fortunately is doing very well. But he has Corey Johnson in his steed representing him today, and Corey actually was a participant in the book award several years ago with a book authored by Bob Fortis that was one of the finalists. So it's good to have you back, Corey. Here is the letter from John. Carrie, Cahill staff, and dear friends, it's nearly impossible to express how disappointed I am not to be there with you for the Dr. Tony Ryan Awards. For those of you not familiar with me, I was fortunate enough to have spent a lifetime around thoroughbred horses and the people who love them. A lifetime that included several careers, beginning in my teens as a hot walker, followed by a sports writer, jockey's agent, racing official, stable manager and breeder, radio executive, track manager, and eventually back to my first love, writer. I was a mature 62 when David Milch contacted me and asked would I assist in bringing a racetrack story to the HBO screen. Luck was born, and I got to work with the finest writers, Jay Hubdy, Bill Barrich, Waylon Green, Eric Roth, and of course the great Milch himself. It was elation of the highest degree, followed by devastating disappointment when Luck was canceled. As an alternative to suicide, I began writing again. First was Racetracker, an account of my life with grifters and gamblers, followed by several works of fiction, which is my true passion. I am pleased that A Beggar's Ride has been so well accepted. The story of the young man who came to age on the backstretch in If Wishes Were Horses continues to intrigue me, and I hope it does you as well. I had the privilege of meeting and dining with Dr. Ryan many years ago, and have since followed the course of his awards. Many fine writers and storytellers have crossed this stage, and I am humbled to be included among them. Please accept my apologies for not being there with you in person. Nothing would have pleased me more, but my ongoing health challenges of the past few years have conspired to deny me that pleasure. Thank you again, John Parada. So the next book is Dark Horses, a memoir of redemption by Arthur Hancock. And Arthur Hancock maybe doesn't need any introduction here at this audience, but a fourth generation thoroughbred horseman who raised 3 Kentucky Derby winners on his stone farm in Paris, Kentucky, a musician, a sports writer, a poet, and now an author in a book that tells his life story, but has captivated audiences, not just in the horse industry, but those who I've passed the book along to say it is must-read material. A memoir of redemption, Dark Horses, and there were so many parts, it was very hard for me to pick just one, but I thought, given that his children would be here today, the part that was Stacy and Arthur might be a good spot. So this is chapter 12, but it starts, I was on a merry-go-round and couldn't get off. I would drink hard every couple of weeks. I had girlfriends from Paris, Kentucky to Paris, France, in Ireland and England, but there was no one special. Life seemed hollow and lonesome. That summer, I was at the Keeneland July sale and went by Warner Jones' Hermitage Farm consignment to look at a couple of horses for a client. As I was standing there talking to Mr. Jones, I looked out into the show ring and a beautiful blonde girl was showing one of his horses. I said, "Mr. Jones, who is that girl out there showing that horse?" He looked sternly at me and his deep, authoritative voice said, "Her name is Stacy Worthington and you leave her alone. She's a nice girl." During that sale, Stacy had seen me walking around the barn a lot several times and asked her good friend Nancy Cloud who I was. Nancy said, "That's Arthur Hancock. Watch out for him. He's the wild black sheep of the family. He likes fast cars, fast women, and bourbon whiskey." Later that year at the November breeding stock sale at Keeneland, Stacy was again working for Mr. Warner. The local paper had snapped a photo of her going in the ring with a mare. I was looking at another horse when I saw her. Having seen the picture in the paper a few days before, I stopped her to try and make conversation and commented on the nice picture. We exchanged pleasantries, and that was that. The following year, Keeneland was hosting a summer sales dinner party. I'd run into Stacy that afternoon at Mr. Warner's barn and asked her if she would like to go with me. She thanked me but said she already had plans to go. I saw her there with her date that night and spoke with her for a few minutes. She was a college co-ed, 11 years younger than me, and even though I was attracted to her, I rationalized that the age difference and my rather wild lifestyle probably precluded any type of relationship from developing. In April of 1977, I was going to have dinner with Paul, and we met at Nellie Kelly's. The service was very slow, and when the waitress didn't even bring us a glass of water, I said, "Let's get the hell out of this place." We were 2 blocks from the Library Lounge, which was also a popular restaurant and bar near the University of Kentucky campus, and I suggested we go there. About a week before, I had been very lonely and depressed one evening and was having serious thoughts about what in the hell was going to become of me. I was 34 years old, living on my small farm in a little house by myself, and even though the business was picking up for me, I had no meaningful relationship other than a roster of casual girlfriends. I seriously prayed to God, "Father, if you can hear me, please send me someone." mention, Arthur is unable to be here tonight, but very able, and I didn't read the part about his birth. Arthur is here, his son, to speak on his behalf.
How's it going, everybody? Well, usually I'm singing into a microphone versus speaking into a microphone, but that's one thing I got from my father, and I just want to thank all of the Ryan family and everyone for having my dad's book be nominated here today. I'd like to welcome my sister Walker, Kate, Lynn, and Alex, 4 of the 6. The 5th one is in Nashville, and I just wanted to let you all know that my dad is really sorry he couldn't be here, but he had an emergency surgery and he's doing well. So he's out of the hospital today, actually. So due to the fact that I'm long-winded like my dad, I prepared a short bit of words here to share with you. I remember growing up at the sales, and if you came to look at a horse at Stone Farm, you didn't leave without one of the best stories you probably ever heard. So it is my personal honor to represent my father and my family on this special evening. Both of my parents are unable to be with us today, as I said. I will report that he is in good spirits and he continues to improve. He has met this challenge with the same grit and determination that have defined his illustrious career in the sport of kings. When my father had left Claiborne and was tending a few mares on the original Stone Farm on Escondido Road, how could he ever dream up a future that would read like a fairy tale? More than a few friends have referenced the movie Big Fish with its winding tales that defy the odds to describe dark horses. My father always says that Sunday Silence was a gift from God. And when I read this story and consider the probability of campaigning a thoroughbred like Sunday Silence, especially given the economic and personal circumstances of when it happened, is there really any other explanation than a force of fate we really cannot comprehend? So a message from my dad, he wrote this to me, and I tried to get him to record it on his phone, but he's 82 and he didn't really want to do that. A message from Arthur III. It is with my deepest regret that I cannot be with you all on this very special evening at Castleton Lyons. To be included with these 2 wonderful authors as finalists for the Tony Ryan Book Award is indeed a lifetime honor, and having been a friend of Tony makes it especially meaningful to me. Writing my memoir, Dark Horses, was a cathartic trip that took place over a span of 5 years. If it helps one person on their road of life, it will have been worth all the effort. I was a dark horse, and so was Sunday Silence. Through destiny and fate, both of us were able to withstand the storms we faced. I would like to thank Shane and the Ryan family for carrying on Tony's vision. The rich tapestry of life we weave with our equine companions holds a very unique and special place in the world of literature. I sincerely thank you, Arthur Hancock III. So I was going to bring my guitar, but being I didn't write the song, he asked me to read his song Sunday Silence, and I'll read it rather than sing it. Yeah. When all the dreams I dream do not come true, and the friends I have turn out to be so few, when it seems the world is closing in on me, Sunday Silence soothes my soul and sets me free. Every time things seem to turn around, something else comes up to get me down. And while I do the best that I can do, Sunday Silence gives me strength to make it through. Every now and then it's hard to face. There ain't no easy going in life's race. And when I'm feeling down and in defeat, the sound of Sunday Silence sure is sweet. How my race will end, Lord only knows. But when Sunday's here, it's time to smell the rose and stop and count the blessings that abound in a place where Sunday Silence can be found. And the chorus? Here comes Sunday Silence again. On the track of life, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. We all need the guiding hand to help us now and then. Here comes Sunday Silence. It's time for Sunday Silence. Here comes Sunday Silence again. Thank you.
that strikes me as I introduce the third book, which is Letters from Country Life, that all three of our authors are so immersed in the horse racing industry. I think it's unique this year that we have all the finalists who have really walked the walk as well as talked the talk in their books. Also that they not only capture the ups and downs and all the warts, but love the business not in spite of, but because of those ups and downs, and have come to appreciate it. And we're the lucky ones to get to read their work about those experiences. Josh Pons is a third generation horseman. I first met Josh in Maryland doing some work for the Maryland Million. And I would say that the Pons family is pretty synonymous with Maryland racing. But he is also a storied author, an Eclipse Award winner, works for the Blood Horse. Most, if you read the Blood Horse at any point in time, will have read some of his excerpts, including those that relate to the theme of the book, which is Adolphe Pons' Man of War and the founding of Maryland's oldest thoroughbred farm. And essentially, Josh takes us on a ride as he unpacks memories and memorabilia from his grandfather's experiences with Man of War, but so much more as well in the book. I actually chose a part that doesn't relate to Man of War, because I know you all will read about Man of War, but each part you can pick up is so poignant and so telling about our sport then and now. This is the section called Vanishing Act. Not many turf libraries stock a copy of the 1927 American Racing Manual, Part 2, American Racetracks and Records. In a time capsule, I study the names of just a few of the racetracks that have fallen to the wrecking ball. Empire City, Havre de Grace, Jamaica, Lexington, Lincoln Fields, Omaha Raceland, Washington Park. My heart breaks, and more recent updates, Long Acres, Hollywood Park, Arlington Park, Exarban, Golden Gate Fields, Bowie. Maybe soon to the same doom, Laurel Park. So often the end is swift. Track owners cash out to developers, most tracks so close to population centers. Laurel is a dozen miles to DC, one of the fastest growing urban areas in America. What if Laurel vanishes? Have you seen Pimlico lately? Most of the grandstand is condemned, hidden behind massive black tarps. No racetracks mean no horse farms. Will this book you are reading someday be like grandfather's letters, annals of another world, a former world? Is it not an abstract question to horse farmers in Maryland? This is the crowded little state, 100 yards from where I sit reading about vanished racetracks. Masons coat concrete blocks of the rising Bellgate Center on the vanished farms where Charlie Shaw reenacted his training barn from vanished Havre de Grace racetrack, the Gras, as it was famously called in the movies The Sting. We may soon be walking clients through fields of foals on our way to unhappy hour at the Bellgate Tavern. I Google satellite images of site plans. Our tiny farm catacornered to tiny parking spaces, tiny turn lanes. From 30,000 feet, this new development appears benign. No noise, no lights, no fumes from fortified chimneys, but down below, in the path of progress, another swath of Hartford County farmland has vanished. Josh?
Wow. Sorry about that, guys. It was a happy evening till then. And I'm really happy to be here. I'm so flattered to be in this company. My dad and Arthur Hancock shared many a coffee in AA meetings together. They were always supportive of each other. I've found letters that Dad had written to Arthur the day Sunday Silence wins the Preakness. They go up to the track kitchen and have an AA meeting with Chris Antley and Pat Day and Pat Valenzuela. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's a great story. The redemption of so many people here. about 2 weeks ago, before the Maryland Million, I gave a little presentation about something about Maryland, and I lost my train of thought. and it was paralyzing. So in under 3 minutes, I just want to take you on a little journey, and I might refer to my notes, although if I don't know it by now, who knows. The book I wrote is about ghosts, and you can feel ghosts here tonight. Any of us that would have liked to have more time with their grandparents should identify with my book. I didn't know my grandfather. He died in 1951. I was born in 1954. And all I knew was anecdotes about him, that he had worked for August Belmont. But we're so busy on a farm, mucking stalls and turning out horses and breeding mares and trying to grow, that I never took the time to study him. And when my kids were grown, it's when I'm here tonight, with my 2-year-old granddaughter, who's probably going to interrupt me. I just found time, and I went to the basement and I found these files that were in perfect order. They were 100 years old and they'd never been disturbed. A lot of farm families, they're not hoarders, they're just clutterers. You never have time. A farm person's car is not a good judgment of who that person is. It's 10 projects in one. And this basement had never been disturbed. Nobody ever had time to go in and say, what are these boxes doing here? So I found them, and every Saturday morning I take 3 of them up to the attic and I dig into them. And I intended to bring what I call a bale of letters. There are brass prongs, 100 years old. They would prong a stack of letters that big, and the entire file included telegrams and jockey club notices and letters and newborn foals and veterinary statements, and all of this would be in one file. I had Mrs. Kitty Harriman's 1929 file, but I left it back at the house, and you don't need to see it. You trust me on it. So I put this together, and Evan Hammonds has been a great friend since we worked together in the Blood Horse 40 years ago, I guess. And I said, Evan, I got this idea for a book. I found all these letters, and I think they have application to the rest of the industry. So I sent him a draft, and he said, okay, keep going. And when I found photographs of Man of War, and I knew it was Man of War. Anybody that really has ever really looked at the picture of Man of War, he has a big star, he's got an interrupted stripe, and he has just a line like this through his nose. There's no mistaking who he is. And as a foal, not me as a foal, him as a foal. I found these negatives that had never been seen before. So I called Evan up. I said, Evan, you won't believe this, but I found pictures of Man of War. And Evan goes, okay, send them to me. And he stopped the presses and he put it on the cover of the Blood Horse. And I'm like, this series just kind of ghosted itself into its own propulsion, and I was simply the messenger from 100 years ago. All I was a conduit for it. So my brother Mike's here tonight, and he didn't know our grandfather either, and my sister Alice is here tonight, and none of us knew him, but we were able to know the grandfather we didn't know by discovering these letters. So win, lose, or draw tonight, I'm like, I've already won. I just am so thrilled that I had the time and that I found a way to communicate. It started out as Letters of Rockland Farm, and Rockland Farm was the name of the farm when he bought it in 1933. He changed the name to Country Life. I changed the name of the series to Letters from Country Life, and I'm just pleased to be here tonight and be in consideration for this award. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the authors and participants for the presentation. It's always to be a highlight of every annual book award. Just listen to the authors who put so much time and effort into these books, and sometimes it takes 2 years or 5 years or 10 years to put these out, and so it's really nice to be able to see the finished product and also be able to honor them. So thanks again for all your talks. Now we'll time to disclose the winner. So Pat Hayes, General Manager of Castleton Lyons, will come up here and announce the winner.
Thank you, Mark. Mark, you seem to thank everybody for tonight, but we want to thank you for all that you do on behalf of Shane and everybody at Castleton Lyons. Also, I would just like to say thank you to Kerry Cahill, Lisa Sharp and Krista Grimes, who put in so much work, and Darrell Edwards, who keeps Castleton looking beautiful as always. And also a speedy recovery to Arthur and John. And now the winner of the 19th Tony Ryan Annual Book Award is Josh Pons.
A dark horse to win this thing tonight. Wow, how exciting is that? I just want to say that my family's here. I mentioned my sister and brother, but on Josh's shoulders is Emerson, who's 2 years old. In Shelby's arms is Joseph Charles Pons. He's 2 months old. Mike's wife Lisa is here. My wife Ellen is here. Ellen took the pictures for the book and more importantly for the series because they were all in color in the Blood Horse, and it was every month the pictures and the narrative. Just, you know, working with your wife can be challenging, but our anniversary was last week, so we made it this far. Anyway, thank you very much to everyone here and the judges and Dr. Ryan's ghost.